Hey, kids.
Alright guys, so we are going to be doing something a little bit different today. You're going to still be working with layers in post-production, Photoshop or Pixlr, but now we're going to be working with layer adjustment masks. Okay? And the project we're going to do to learn those skills is a multiple exposure portrait combining a portrait and nature. So we're going to need two photos. Ideally they'd both be ones that you take. You're going to need a portrait with a predominantly white background. Now, we can make the background in Photoshop, that's no problem. However, if you take a picture, for example, let's say if this is my background over here, okay, I've got a lot more to contend with, more things to edit out. But if I take my picture over here, in front of this empty wall, that's a whole lot easier to deal with when I'm editing. So I'm gonna photograph in front of this empty wall here. You could photograph using the skyline outside, you could photograph in front of a window, you could photograph in front of a TV, you could put up a big sheet. Find something that's fairly empty in the background. That is going to make editing out your face or your portrait, whoever you use, a whole lot easier. Okay? So let's keep that in mind. In addition to that, you're going to need a landscape, specifically trees. However, you could use a cityscape, you could use a backyard image, an alleyway, some sort of landscape, cityscape. Trees, textures, buildings, bridges, mountains, all those work really, really well. Okay, let me show you my studio space. For studio time, for the studio space for this assignment, we have all the bells and whistles in class. If you're at home, I would encourage you guys to use some sort of light source like a window. I do not have a window in this room. As you can see, there are no windows anywhere in this space. Kind of lame. So I'm going to make a fake window, hence the light box. Okay, so here's our light box right here. Here's my studio camera, and there's my backdrop. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a quick photo shoot of a profile of my face for this assignment. Now I'm going to set the timer on the camera so that I can set it, make my pose, and I don't have to have my hands on the camera. I'm just doing a 2-second timer. It works. Also, this tripod's not quite tall enough, so I have to kind of squat down a little bit to get the picture. Okay? I'm going to take a couple different ones. Now, I know my hair's up, and I'm going to go with maybe a Valhalla kind of Viking look. We're going to see how that goes. So I'm going to have one where I'm putting out a little more expression. All right, we're going to see how those look when we get to editing. All right, guys, so we are going to go ahead and edit one more multi-layer image. At least that's the specific goal, is multi-layered images. But this time we're going to work with adjustment layers and masks. Now, I would rather use Photoshop to do this personally. However, I'm going to do it in Pixlr E because that's a free program that you guys can all get access to on your computers and Chromebooks. So we're going to do this in Pixlr E here. So go ahead, follow along with me here. Oh, just kidding. All right, guys, go ahead and follow along with me here. Up in the corner. So I'm going to go ahead, open up Google here. Go to Pixlr E. Now remember, Pixlr E and Pixlr X are both very, very similar. However, Pixlr E gives you more freedom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, Pixlr E. There we are. Open image. Now we're going to start off with this picture here of Miss Riggins. Full HD. Apply. Okay, so we have that there. I always like to duplicate that background layer. So I'm going to right click, duplicate, and I'm going to hide the background layer. Okay, now we're also going to need a landscape layer. I'm going to go ahead and put that in now just to save some time. Okay, now see if this will work here. I'm going to grab, we're going to start off with a snowy landscape and just see what happens. Add to current. There we go. Okay, go ahead and hide that there. pause. Okay, so what we've got here, I'm going to go ahead. Again, I've got this background image here, and I'm going to go ahead and shrink that up a little bit, just so it fits our photos a little bit better. Two different cameras photographed here. The first camera that I used to photograph the portrait was a Canon. This one here is a Sony. So it takes slightly larger images. So first thing I'm going to do, hide that, and I'm going to cut out my face here. I'm going to try to keep some of my shirt. I wish I wouldn't have had all these issues down here below, but that's okay. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, select, do that. I want to select just the background, but for some reason it's selecting my head and the background. So I'm going to take my tolerance here, I'm going to put that at 15 and see what that picks. Okay, still getting a little bit of my head selected there. We're going to do add to selection. Get rid of this commercial right here. Again, if you guys get the free subscription to Photoshop, this process is a whole lot smoother, guys. Oh, undo that. I like to keep the shirt. Oh, undo that. Keep adding. Let me zoom in here. Tricky little whiskers. Okay, now watch this. I'm going to go ahead, hit delete. There we go. So I'm going to go through, do some cleaning up here, and just get my head. Okay, so bear with me. Again, I'd rather do this in Photoshop. Okay, so now my next goal is I'm going to create a white background. So there are a lot of ways to do what we're about to do. I'm trying to blend the process I use in Photoshop with Pixlr and seeing if it works together well. So hopefully this doesn't fail miserably, and it's a good thing. So we'll find out. So I'm going to go ahead. Okay, let's move this new layer down here. All right, in that new layer, I'm going to go ahead and grab the paint bucket. I want white. Hit okie dokie. Blam. There we are. So now I've got some other issues. The nice thing is about when I get that white there, I can go through and I can see all the other issues I have created. For example, that. Come through here, I can clean that up. Also, see how it's just kind of choppy? Photoshop does a much better job preventing that choppiness. It's just a smoother program, and so I really rather use Photoshop. But given a lot of you guys at home are using this software here, I figured I'd give it a go. Okay. So there's that. Now, what we want . Add mask. Okay. Oh, interesting. There we go. I can use this here to move its position. So I'm going to come back to this picture here. I'm going to hide this picture here. I'm going to erase whatever that little thing is right there. There we are. And I'm going to do quick select. Let's change that tolerance to, actually watch this. Undo. Click over here. There we go. Tolerance 32. Okay. Select. Deselect. I'm going to click the background. So it should pick everything but me, right? And now watch this. I'm going to go to select and click invert selection. So what it did is it reversed it and it selected me. All right, let's pick back up where we left off. Had some technical difficulties there, but we're good to go. So we've got a couple different pictures here that we're going to play with. This one and this one. Okay, so what I've done, I was trying to figure out how to do masks well on here, and it's not functioning like I want. So I want to go the easier route for you guys. So I have got my image right here. Remember, I cut out my face and put it right there. Now I can place this anywhere. Now if I set it here in the corner, the good news is I don't have to deal with my shirt and things like that. If I put it up here, I can play with some reverse images. I can put some upside down trees and make almost roots come down from the bottom of my arms. I can play with this as much as I want to. There's a lot of opportunity for you guys here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tuck this right over here. So now what I'm going to do, I want to convert this to black and white. However, it's always a good idea to have extras. So this one here was the black and white one that I don't want, so I'm going to delete that. This one here, I'm going to right click. I'm going to duplicate. Okay. And it's not a bad idea to name your layer, so I'm going to go ahead, click this here, name, BW rig. Okay. Perfect. So this is my extra one here. I'm going to hide that. So I'm going to go ahead and convert this to black and white. I'm going to come here to adjustments. We're going to do, hey. Temperature. Now there's auto black and white, which is okay. It's typically not my preferred, but I'm going to go ahead and click auto black and white. So it's going to turn black and white. And I'm going to, in addition to that, I'm going to adjust my brightness and contrast. I don't want it quite as bright, but I do want some more contrast. So what that's going to do, there we go. That's the original, that's the new one. Original, new one. Original, new one. Okay, good. So I decrease the brightness and increase the contrast. That's going to make my picture a little more dynamic. It's going to give me some more shadows. That's important because we're going to do a layer blend mode, which will really change how these images look. Now I have some options here. I'm going to bring up this one. Okay. Notice it's in color, and the picture of me is in black and white. Black and white works great for the blend, but now I'm going to be black and white. This is going to be color, so it gets a little funky. I'm going to convert this to black and white just because it's going to make it easier for you guys. You can play with this in color and black and white, but it's going to take some manipulation. It's going to take some real sharp awareness. I also like to use just black and white because then if you look with me over here in the color, right there, I only have to deal with black and white paint and erase, and that does make life a lot easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this top layer here. Click on my three dots, and I'm going to change the blend mode. I'm going to change the blend mode to screen. There we go. So now what that does, you know what? Let's undo that. Control Z. Let's make it black and white first. Okay, and let's play with the brightness and contrast. Apply. Okay. Now let's click on this. Now let's go over here to screen. Ka-chow. There we are. You're like, Mr. Riggins, that just looks ugly. Yeah, you're right. At the moment, it does look ugly. I'm going to grab my arrow tool. Remember, I am on my mountains here. I can kind of adjust this around. Okay, what do I want to see? I kind of like the way the snow there plays with my beard. So I'm going to do that there. Now, I want my face. Okay, I want to get my face back in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the eraser tool. And not do it there. Grab the eraser tool. Okay, and I'm going to erase on the snow mountain layer. Okay. Now my opacity is at 67. So I kind of slowly blend it out. I'm going to turn my opacity even lower. I might be saying to myself, Mr. Riggins, but what if I would like more of my image, a little bit of hair here. Now we got a lot of clouds, so maybe this image isn't going to work the best. We'll see. Okay, now watch this though. I'm going to click over here. I'm going to click on the picture of me. I'm going to grab the pen. I'm going to go to black. Now watch this. I can actually make this a bigger brush here, more elements in. So as you can see here, if I do that, I get to see more elements. Now what is it actually doing? I'm painting on my face. Okay? I'm painting on my face, and that dark shadow actually reveals the screened image on top. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this back. I'm going to undo some of that because it's, there we are. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. I want some more clouds up here in my head. Undo. Now, if I do this, if I do it at 100, it just erases me. Now, what is that doing? Again, it's doing that. Okay. I don't know if this is the best landscape for this. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to come back to this top layer. I'm going to grab the eraser tool. I'm bring a little more of my beard into here. Maybe let that blend in with the clouds a little bit. Okay. I am going to crank Crank up the opacity here. 100%. I think I have a neck somewhere in there. Now, I don't really like how the beard is interacting with that there. Part of that is because there's literally a line right here. So it kind of makes it difficult. So let's play around with a different one. I'm going to hide this one. There we go. Now, remember I said it's always important to make extra layers? Well, I can't undo all that. I painted on that layer. Now, I could have made an extra layer and just painted black on that extra layer. That actually would have worked, and it would have preserved this. But I was thinking ahead, so I'm going to come down here. I'm going to right-click. We're going to duplicate this again. Okay. We're going to scroll down. We're going to hide this layer here. We're going to come to this one here. We're going to do BWRIG2. Okay. Oops, got a name. We're going to go ahead, adjustment, black and white, adjustment, brightness and contrast, crank up the contrast a little bit. Bring down the brightness a little bit, hit apply, there's my face. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring back the snow party. Now this one's in color. We're going to actually leave this one in color. Grab this here. I am going to flip this. Watch this, flip horizontally, bow. There we go. I want that tree to work with my forehead there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, like we did last time, I'm going to click on my dots here, mode screen. Okay, so now, close this, I am on this current layer. I can move that around and see what looks best. I really do kind of like the trees and the shoulder, but I want some of the peak of that tree, but I'm going to have the peak of that tree come up out of my head. Okay, you can say, well, how can you do that, Mr. Riggins? Watch. Okay, so I'm going to try something a little bit different this time. I'm going to add a layer, new, blank layer. I'm going to put it above my head here. Oh, sorry, right there. And I'm going to paint black right on that layer. There we go. So this time, as you can see, I am not painting on my head. I'm painting on this empty layer. Okay? Now that particular paintbrush is too thick. So what's cool about that, because this is on a different layer, I can grab the eraser tool here and erase it away. Very cool, right? So I'm going to go ahead, grab the paintbrush again, take this here. Oh my goodness. There we are. Grab the arrow tool, grab the snowy mountains here, or the trees. There we go, just like that. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to grab the eraser tool, shrink this down a little bit. I forget, this is a little laggy in comparison to Photoshop. Whoa, wrong spot. Undo. Come back to my shadows. Let's kind of erase that away a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead, click on this layer here, grab the eraser tool, and I'm going to start bringing out some of my face. Okay. Increase the size here. Change the opacity a bit because I want to blend a little better. Get a little bit of my hair in there. Okay. Get rid of this thing in the way. Now, not a bad idea to get my shirt back. So I'm going to go ahead, take my opacity here, crank it back up, get my shirt back in there. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Now I am going to just take a little bit of this off. I don't want the whiteness there. It's kind of annoying. And the beard will blend with those sticks a little bit there, which is nice. Maybe I'll come through and bring a little bit of my ear back in here. There, Mr. Riggins' ear. Okay. There we go. All right, so that's kind of that's the idea. You guys are going to take a portrait, as demonstrated earlier. You're going to take a picture of a landscape, a tree, something like that, as we looked at earlier, and you're going to combine the tree and the landscape and the portrait together, and you're going to use layer blending modes specifically. So those are layer adjustments. Screen, okay, specifically screen. All right, guys. So I look forward to seeing what you are going to make. I look forward to the creativity. You're going to make a couple of these today, so make sure you get a couple pictures of yourself or your model of sorts. And you're just going to take 2 or 3 photos, and you're going to blend these together. This took not a whole lot of time, so good luck, guys. Can't wait to see what you got going on tomorrow.